My name is Matthew Kemps. I'm co-founder of Lone Wolf Realty Group at Spyglass Realty, and this is
Matt Kirschling with Gold Star Mortgage.
two Matts, one market.
So, episode 16. I only know that because I just finished 15. For those of you that want to check it out, it's uploaded on YouTube. And today, we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the multiple offers that we're seeing in the marketplace. But before we do that, I need to do a call to action here, so I'm going to cut this out. I've got to do a thing. So I've been doing all the YouTube edits, right? I've been learning a lot. So those of you that are always like, oh, how do you do that? Whatever. So I do a lot of the descriptions through ChatGPT. And then one of the things that I've been missing is I don't have any call to action for subscribing to my page. So for starters, if you like some of the content, or even if you just know me, please go ahead and click that subscribe button wherever it's going to be on the screen, and subscribe to the podcast so that you can get alerts and updates when new episodes come out. We'll just use that for now.
Cool. And then I'm going to add on there. Do me a favor and click the like button so anyone else who's viewing videos like these, it goes a little bit higher in the algorithm so they can see the videos as well. So we'd appreciate the little thumbs up. Click the subscribe. Much appreciated.
There it is. So now that that's out of the way, multiple offer situations, those of you that purchased a home probably in the last 3 to 5 years know exactly what we're talking about, where you find a home, you love it, you finally, after looking at like 10 houses, driving all over town, looking at a bunch of houses you can't stand, and you finally find the one, and you're like, this is it. It's in my price point. I like it. Let's write an offer on it. And then all of a sudden you get a phone call from your real estate agent, and they're like, well, we're in multiple offers. In other words, there's like 2 or 3 other people that want that same house.
Sometimes more, but typically not.
Right. And so now we got to figure out what we can use as far as leverage, right? So I bring this up because I think traditional, buyers just go, okay, well, what do we got to do? Like, do we just pay more than the next person? And then the best part, the most exciting part is no one tells you like what the best offer is, right? You just have to
make it strong.
Right. You gotta make an offer and figure out a way to get the sellers to accept it. So, one of the things that Matt and I have been successful with, and other agents I work with as well, is trying to figure out ways to leverage what we have to work with to be more competitive instead of just paying more money, right? Because, yeah, sure, we can just throw money at it. And surprisingly, here's what's kind of crazy. Sometimes sellers don't take the highest offer because they think it might be bullshit, right? That you're going to ultimately clear everyone out of the room and then get an inspection and then go, you know what? We got a million things we want you to do. We want you to drop the price. And now all those other buyers that were interested in making an offer, they're gone.
Well, depends.
Well, they're not there at the moment.
It could be a backup.
Correct. So, before I kind of go into some of the things leverage-wise, I'm going to hand it to you. Why don't you tell me what multiple offer situations look like, how to be prepared for it, and some of the things people need to know?
So we're typically going to know if we're going to be multiple offers based off the zip code that we're looking in. And it's a conversation we'll have typically ahead during our buyer consultation. So before you even get in the scenario, if we're looking at 78731, we're looking at 78735, we're looking at 78628. That's right in Georgetown off 29 area and northeast, but primarily off 29. If you have something that's kind of a newer construction, competitive with pricing on builder or just below, those are flying. Great Hills is flying. Barton Creek is still flying if you price it correctly. Spanish Oaks, you don't even see those listings pop up anymore. There's a few areas like that where you're going to see. Okay, I'll use Great Hills for example. We've talked about this same property multiple times. 9601 Rain Lily. There was over 20 offers on the property. It sold for over $500,000 over list. I know it's a rare scenario, but there was no way to prepare for that one.
Gotcha.
There are ways to prepare for the 2 to 3 offer scenarios where you're like, okay, we'll base it off of data. Then we're going to go into how do I make the contract stronger, which is where we kind of leverage you to start with on the financing side, but then I'll go in the other portions of the contract we make stronger. So first, let's dive into Matt Kirschling's side. Finance contingency, make it 0 days. Basically, they go through a full underwrite. We strong scenario that they're basically pre-approved. We don't have any issues with them on the financing side. He's fully comfortable moving forward with them instead of having to throw a finance contingency in there, where we usually put like normal market, put 14 days, and you're like, you'll take the offer anyways. It take 14 days. It's another way for us to get out the offer. Well, in this scenario, we're gonna put 0 days because Matt's team has gone on full underwrite on the buyer, and they don't have any issue. They know they can close. They're overqualified or well qualified. So that's the financing side. Then let's talk about how the net to the seller. Let's talk about that portion too. So typically the title policy and title insurance is going to be, you can go 50-50. Seller typically pays for it, but you could go 50-50 on it if you want to make it kind of strong. Or you could just say, hey, fuck it, buyer's going to pay it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually 1 to 1.5% of purchase price. We can also go into our option period and our earnest money. So I've seen some crazy scenarios with option money. Option money is the money you put up front to have let's call it your inspection period, basically. We call it option period here in Texas. On average, we have about 7-day option periods. When times are super crazy, we had these 0-day options. I still don't advise those. But if you want to do it and you want to go in that scenario, you're like, I don't care what's wrong with the house. I'm going to buy it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Do the 0-day option. You're gonna win no matter what because they know you have to buy the house, and everything else in your offer is going to be basically non-contingent.
Right.
So you can have a 0-day option, but typically what I suggest my clients is going to be a 3-day option. Depending on the price point, we're going to be somewhere between $500 to $5,000, depending on the price point. Because that's basically saying, okay, if I back out the property, I am going to lose $5,000. I don't want to lose $5,000.
Sure.
So we throw a scenario in there, or you can do 500 at a lower price point. It just depends on what the scenario is and all the things going along. Title, option, earnest money is typically 1%. Earnest money is the money that's due in the first 3 days with your option money. It's very very likely we're going to increase your earnest money to have a winning offer. It's basically what the seller sees it as is how much money you're going to put down into escrow. That's going to be there if anything were to happen in the contract.
Right.
We're usually increasing that from somewhere to 2 to 5%. I've had a scenario where we did a 20% down, 20% escrow, and that wasn't by my choice. That was the buyer's like, I want the house. We have it. I was like, okay, the escrow does something, but the option does more. As well, I can still fight for the escrow because it's basically intermediary scenario. We can still fight over that option period. I lose no matter what. I was like, okay, good point. I see where you're coming from, but they're going to see that too.
Sure. Well, let me tell you what I see on my end. So one of the things when it comes to the financing, again, having, the 0-day contingency, it basically gives us an opportunity to kind of compete with cash buyers because not only do we know that everything is done up front, we also are in a position that we can close in as little as 10 days. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I feel like a lot of people don't know that I want to get out there is like, even if you were to find a home and say, I'm a cash buyer, like even show up with a briefcase full of cash, it's going to take at least 10 days for title to transfer. So when we do the 0 financing contingency and are able to close in a 10-day timeline, there is no incentive for cash in regards to time because we can meet the same time as a cash client. So one of the things I've identified, because I reach out to the listing agent on every single deal that we make an offer on. And before I get into that, one of the things I'm shocked about is how many listing agents don't answer the phone.
Dude.
It's insane. I don't get it.
So let's pause that for a second. I'm going through reverse prospecting yesterday for a listing I have. Uh-huh. I have 175 agents. Copy and paste their number into Excel. So then I have a CSV file. I can upload the CSV file to my dialer.
Yeah.
Throw it in my dialer. I make about 175 calls in about an hour to hour and a half.
Yep.
6 agents answered.
What do you think that is?
It's calling from a 512 number, so it's not like it's like I'm not trying to sell you. Well, I am trying to sell you something. I'm trying to help you sell something and do your job.
Your house, yeah.
Well, I'm the buyer's agent. I'm trying to help them sell the house. Hey, I just went on the market. It's a really good opportunity for you. You probably don't even know about this listing yet. Bring it to your buyer. I'm doing your job to let them know about the listing. And you still don't answer your phone.
I think a lot of it is like, I know real estate agents obviously get a lot of spam calls. People want to sell them something. I'm just always dumbfounded though that like, number one, by answering a sales call, like nobody is going to like jump through the phone and get you, right? So like when you answer a sales call, and if it's a sales call, then just hang up. Like how much time does that honestly take? And
You're going to funny part. So our sales manager at Spyglass, his name is John McCarthy.
Uh-huh.
Okay, every time he gets one of those calls, he goes, Damien, did you get my wire? Did you get my wire? He goes, what are you talking about? I'm not Damien. Well, did you get my wire? He goes, what do you mean? I just sent you $300,000. I'm assuming this is the right number. You got my call, right? Or you got my wire, right? And the guy, I was like, dude, you're fucking crazy. Just hangs the phone up.
Well, again, like I've watched agents literally look at their phone, and they're like, and I'm like, who's that? They're like, oh, it's a number I don't recognize. I'm like, well, answer it. Like,
It might be a $3 million buyer.
it could be me letting you know the strength of the approval for the client that's writing an offer on a property that you're trying to sell and collect a commission on. Like I cannot wrap my head around how many agents do not answer the phone. But anyway, I reach out to every single listing agent, and if they don't answer the phone, I text them, and then I also send them like a custom video, right?
Yep.
Just expressing the strength of the approval of the client. And the reason that I find this to be so important is because I've literally had agents tell me that they've accepted our offer because I've called, because all of the other offers, yeah, they say that they're pre-approved, but that's what everybody says. And none of the lenders call, none of them reach out. And so what I've identified as a seller is when you break it down to the basics, there's only 3 things a seller really cares about. Number 1, how much are you going to pay me for my house? Number 2, what's the likelihood that this deal is going to close? And number 3, how fast can I have my money, right? And so that's what I try to do, is check all of those boxes where, number 1, how much are you going to pay me? Well, we're going to negotiate that. Number 2, what's the likelihood that this is going to actually happen? Well, we have a fully underwritten buyer, like financing is good, credit scores are good. I explain to all of my clients, like within reason, I'm going to tell the listing agent pretty much everything about you. Like, I'm not going to like tell them how much money you have in the bank type of deal, but like I'm going to let them know, like, if your credit's good, if it's okay, if it's bad, I'm going to tell them. And, so we go over the strength. So we go over the strength, the approval. And then lastly, we're in a position to close in as quickly as 10 days if it's enticing. And what's surprising to me that I feel like a lot of agents and even buyers get really kind of like weird about is a lot of times I find that we get a lot of deals done utilizing the leverage of letting the sellers stay in the home for a little bit.
Completely leasebacks.
Right. For like $0 leasebacks, but closing, like giving them their money and saying, hey, you're cool to stay here for like a week or 2. Like
Or 30
for
days.
free. Or 30 days, right? And I
Or
know
up to 90.
Sure. And I find that time is more valuable to a lot of sellers than getting the money quickly or anything along those lines. Don't get me wrong, it's a case-by-case scenario. So, but those are the things that I feel like, I don't know why more lenders aren't doing, because real estate agents even say, they're like, this is amazing. Like, I have agents like you that I kind of check in with on listings and everything. I have one that I do a lot of business with up in Ohio, Christine Stowell, and she'll call me sometimes and she'll be like, I had a listing and, we were doing, kind of like final
Walkthrough.
No, not final walkthrough, but like when you make the cutoff, a deadline. And she's like,
For what?
so if you're a listing agent, you
Yeah.
get like 7, you're telling everyone like, hey, we're going to review all offers.
Oh, we're setting a deadline.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so she'll call me and be like, yeah, I had a deadline for the end of whatever. And she's like, we had 7 offers on this property. Not one lender contacted me. Not one. She's like, I have to reach out to all of them and say, hey, is this one good? Of course, she only picks like the top 2 or 3, but reaching out to the lender, no one is reaching out. And I tell people, I'm like, look, you don't have to use me as your lender. I mean, I want you to, but if your lender is not doing the things that I'm talking about right now, like,
Kind of the intro we had this morning.
yeah, basically, because you and you know what the sad part is it's the client that has like, a 700 plus credit score. They've got a good down payment, and in their mind, like,
They can't lose.
yeah, right. And those are the people that do lose.
Yeah.
Because they go into it with this kind of attitude, like, well, if I want it, I can get it. I mean, I can totally afford it. Like, I've got a big down payment. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And then you got me. I'm probably
They do, but it's not the biggest concern.
right. And then you've got me calling with like an FHA buyer. And I'm like, hey, and then I know the listing agent. And then you've got Bob and Tom Smith with their 800 credit scores and their 30% down payment, and they don't get their offer accepted and they can't figure out why. It's like, well, because I was able to connect with the listing agent on my FHA deal and we figured it out while your Wells Fargo guy was, hanging out on the weekend doing whatever.
In that scenario, it would have to be like closer to list, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we're in multiples, we know what we need to do as
Yeah.
far as the price is concerned.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Unpack that.
Okay. There could be so many things going on with where it depends on what it's listed at. Where are they listed below value? Are they listed at value? Or you won't really have multiple offers if it's overvalued. But if you're like way below market value, there's a certain agent in Austin that does this where it listed 150, 200,000 below list.
Yeah, but you as a buyer's agent, you're going to show the comparables to your
Correct.
client.
Even if you're on multiple offers, though, like you on that guy's listings, I have no idea. Sorry, I'm gonna be blunt. Or I'm gonna sound like I don't have expertise here, but I have no idea where he's going his listings because I can tell you market value,
Sure.
and I can tell you the data based off that zip code or that neighborhood specifically on percent it sells over list. On certain scenarios where it does sell over list, we can go off of that number. But when you list a $500,000 home, you list it for $350,000, and we're in multiple offers. I don't want to go to $600,000 for my buyer, but sometimes
Sure.
there's some scenarios where that does happen.
Yeah, but as a buyer, I mean, if you're my real estate agent and you're showing me like this is what all the comparable sales are in the last 90
100%
days,
agreed.
even you've got to love the house then to be like we don't care then because that happens in certain neighborhoods, but for the most part it's like this is where we need to come in at, and if we don't get it, then like somebody's wildly overpaying.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to wildly overpay? And if like not really, I mean we like it, we don't love it. It's like okay, well then we have to be confident in the offer that we're making here and knowing that because. Yeah, I know what you're talking about with these agents, and all they're trying to do is lead generate because they're going to get 25 offers,
and then they sell it to the seller as how many offers we're going to get and how much activity we're going to bring, and then they end up selling it for a list price.
Right. Well, and then they got a bunch of potential leads, I guess, because you're going to get 25 offers, and 15 of them are going to be worthless.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, the multiple offers are back. I don't think it's going to slow down.
Picking up.
Yeah.
I think this summer is going to be a little weird. Weird as in unpredictable of how fast this stuff's going to start moving. Because we still have higher days on market on us an average. Like we're still like 50 to 60 days in certain neighborhoods. But things are selling in multiple offers at 60 days right now, which is really, really weird.
Yeah, why is that?
There's demand now. Buyers coming out. Kind of like how we talked on a few shows ago where it's like, okay, this is just the industry standard rate. Like it's not changing.
Yeah.
Even though we feel like rates are dropping. There's just not volatility. So now I'm comfortable to go make offers. I know things aren't going to adjust. If anything, I'm going to feel like it's going in a better direction. Or it's just buyer comfort.
I had that conversation today with buyers where I presented their rate to them and they were like, "What? I thought rates were going down." I'm like, "No, they're not.
Yeah.
Like they're not going up, which is fantastic, but they're not going down." I looked at it again today. I've been saying December 15th, but it was really December 13th. And we're in this just little almost like area.
A little tight zigzag.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not doing much. And don't get me wrong. I mean, if that's what it takes for buyers to feel like rates are coming down to buy, like I don't want to steal anybody's excitement, but I'm happy.
Let's go. I'm ready to roll.
Like, but people, and again, I mean, people aren't looking at rates either and going like, oh my gosh, that seems high. They're just like, I just thought things were coming down a little bit more. It's like they're not. So
and neither are prices anymore.
Right. No, that's for sure. I mean, we haven't really.
It's not doing this. It's like this right now. If anything, in some neighborhoods slightly up, but it's not like like for example, like on our generated postcards, right?
Yeah. For
sellers that we reach out to, I can't send them right now. Like I could, but I can't send them right now because it says looks like your home value has dropped over $60,000 in the last year. That auto generates how much that was.
Right.
Where normally we want to send it, it's like, hey, your property's generated like 50,000 greater this year.
Right.
Like on like those postcards, like you can't send that one, can't send that one, can't send that one. But now we're getting in a better direction where it's like your home is stabilized.
Gotcha. Well, and I have a question for you, just to switch gears a little bit. So, I mean, you do a lot of stuff with marketing and leads and everything along those lines. Who do you feel like if you could think of like the last maybe 50 people you've talked to, is there a common theme as far as like the individual that you're getting right now?
7 years plus of ownership, interest rate over 4.5%.
Okay.
For a homeowner.
Got it. And
well, I can tell you because that's my search criteria.
It's what?
That's my search criteria.
Okay.
When I'm doing kind of reach outs for mailers, and that's who if you lived in your home over 7 years and your interest rate currently is over 4.5% and you've never refied.
Yeah.
That's who I'm talking to.
Have you asked any of them why they didn't refinance?
Wasn't a big deal.
That is one of the things that I talk about when we're in refinance markets that I'm always shocked about is clients that are making their payments and income is like not an issue. You know, they just are kind of going about their business. I've even talked to people like out at bars and things like that when rates were low. And it's like, well, hey, you should refinance. And like, yeah, well, I'll get around to it. I'll get around to it. And they never do. Because one of the lines in financing when it comes to home loans that I tell everyone is the hardest time to get a loan is when you need one. And people who actively look to refinance are always the ones that are, you know, struggling per se. And so we're always figuring out a way to get the deal done. Credit scores are a little low. They're not getting the deal that they really want to. It is highly unusual that I get somebody with like 700 plus credit scores, you know, low debt to income ratio that's like, I need to refinance because they know it's like the responsible thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I always laugh about
It's
it.
not the first thing on top of their mind either.
Right. And
Yeah.
well, what's also funny to me though is like, you know, I mainly operate like 90% of my business is purchase. We really only do refinance for clients that are referred to us or past clients. And I get my balls busted every day about rates and payments. But then when we find an opportunity for somebody to save money on their mortgage, like they couldn't be bothered. Right?
Yeah, cool. Whatever. Yeah, sounds good.
So do you find a lot of people 7+ years, interest rates in the 4s, like
The search rate, it's like I have to narrow it down from there.
because there's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many people with a 4.5% interest rate that could have probably refinanced to like a 2.
So yeah, if you want to get even more tighter, 7 years or greater, 4.5% interest rate or greater.
Okay.
Never refied.
Mm-hmm.
Over 55 years old.
Okay.
Lives in a 2-story.
Why lives in a 2-story?
They're getting older at the age they don't want to deal with stairs.
Ah, I see what you're doing there. Interesting.
And that's I'm getting a lot of boomer clients selling because they have a 2-story and they want to go to a smaller, downsized single family for a same city swap.
What are the boomers like? What's it like dealing with the boomers?
Fantastic, honestly.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay.
I have nothing bad to say at all.
What do you like about them?
They really rely on an agent to walk them through the process, and it's not
They're coachable.
not even coachable. I actually can walk them through the process.
Okay.
It's not even like I have to go coach them what to do in the back end. It's like they just I'm telling words like singling them out. I don't mean to do that, but like that age
Single
group
them out.
that age group cooperates very, very well and treats with me a ton of respect because there's an expectation that was built in with the generation that this is a professional, that they know how to do this. Trust them to guide you through the process. Where my generation is like, fuck you, I can take care of myself.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That you're
like my generation, everyone's a professional at everything.
right. I was just about to say they know everything.
Yes.
Like they can do it all.
Yeah.
You think that's just young people in general? Because when I was younger, my dad would always, you know, kind of tease me and be like, "Oh yeah, you
maybe
know
because I'm
everything."
not the age yet, but like, I don't want to say I'm an old soul because I'm not an old soul, but like I don't gravitate to my age group to hang out with,
Right.
because I get really frustrated a lot.
Right.
And it's just like conversations that they're having. I just don't. I can't relate with half the shit that some of my peers at
Give
my
us
age.
an example.
Fuck, you really want to go there?
Yeah, it'll be good it'll be good clips. What is a common theme amongst the Gen Zers right now that just makes you go, "Oh my God, this generation"?
Honestly, it's lingo. It drives me more crazy than anything else.
Okay, like all the the stuff.
Oh, I'm trying to think of one of the words. Oh fuck, what's that word?
Riz, man.
Yeah, okay. There's a guy there's a 45-year-old dude who makes fun of his kids and acts like his kid.
Whiskey business.
And he always wears the beanie. He goes, "Oh, you trying too hard, bro?"
Yeah, whiskey business.
Yeah,
that guy's over in I think he's in St. Louis or something. He
wears
does all those side by sides.
Yeah, and then he's always what's it called? What's the dance football move called?
I know what you're talking about. We're like,
yeah,
you bugging, bro.
You bugging, bro. Yeah.
So that's a real thing.
Oh, absolutely. Drives me fucking nuts.
I don't know anybody. Like I hang out with some younger guys, and they don't do that.
I'm gonna call out someone who's close with me on our team. Sorry, guys.
It's good.
Bet, bro.
Bet?
Yeah.
Who says that?
James.
Does he?
All the time.
Bet.
Like he'll text me. And I'll text him like, "Hey, we're working on this CMA real quick. Hey, let's go through this." Bet. I'm like, James, fuck.
I feel like I'm too old to where like he doesn't talk with me like that because he
Or no
knows
cap.
no cap. That
I
one.
still don't understand what it means.
Uh,
Like, you're not lying, right?
no, I thought no cap was like
Sorry, I sound like I'm under 30.
I thought no cap was like there's no end to it,
Like,
right?
if you know what no cap means, and like clearly, like I no, just don't get it, put in the comments.
Yeah, there we go. So yeah,
You bugging,
so
bro.
we love we like we like dealing with the boomers,
Yep.
and people your age are the ones that are the best at everything. And then yeah, I mean, I guess technically I'm right on the cusp because I feel like Gen Xers, you know, like I'm technically between a millennial and a Gen Xer. I'm 2 years into being a millennial technically.
I'm the last year.
Of being a millennial. Okay. And I feel like because of where I grew up in Cleveland and everything along those lines, because that's one thing I've actually had this conversation. Depending on where you grew up is what makes me like either Gen X or a millennial. And growing up in Cleveland, I feel like I'm way more of a Gen Xer where like we didn't have cell phones, like nothing like that. Like if I would have grown up in like Silicon Valley or something like that, I would have totally been a millennial just because of technology and everything like that. But I
am a millennial when it comes to technology.
right. Well, I try to always keep up on that. I never want to be the old guy who's like, you know, because I have to deal with gathering together documentation all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that is interesting to me is you would think that like, yeah, so you got like boomers. There's no way they're going to be able to send me a bank statement type of deal, and you got to deal with that. And I would say like in a broad stroke, yeah, the older you are, like the harder it is for some people with technology. But it's pretty amazing to me. Like there are young people that just refuse to, you know, deal with any sort of tech stuff. And I've talked to people that are like 25 years old, and I'm like, send me a PDF. And
Nah, you bugging, bro.
you bugging, bro. Yeah. Computers aren't my thing. Like, and that's the other part that's really interesting to me that no one talks about, but younger generation, they don't even like, some of them don't even have computers because their phone is basically their computer.
My wife.
Is that right? So like,
So her iPad is her laptop. Okay, she has a desktop. Sorry, never mind. Not a bad example.
right. But like, if I tell somebody like, hey, you're not going to be able to do this on your phone, because a lot of times like people send us like screenshots of bank
Like
statements and
difference
stuff.
between iOS and macOS, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, I need you to send this, and you can't send it as a screenshot. And they're like, well, this is the only way I can do it. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you're gonna need to get to like a computer.
The funny part is they text if it's an iPhone, they could literally go to they could log in on the actual browser.
Yes,
They could click it and they could save it to their Apple files.
correct.
So they could go from their files and then upload it.
Yeah, it can be done on a
Yeah.
on a phone. You're right, but even that, if you don't understand how to, if you understood that, you wouldn't be calling me telling me
Correct.
like the screenshot that says $50,000 with no one's name, no account number. Like, that's my favorite thing to say to people. I'm like, I need you to explain to me how the screenshot with no name, no account number that just says $50,000 in the bank. Explain to me how this isn't mine.
Or it says or it's the one I'm guessing you get a lot is a screenshot of the front page of your checking or savings,
Right.
and then the account, and then his last four numbers, and it says a balance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, convince me that I didn't screenshot my own bank account. Go.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly what underwriting is going to say to me. Like, how do we know this isn't just some random person?
Okay, I'm gonna click the top right corner. It says say log out. It's gonna say my name. Here, screenshot that.
Yes, I've definitely had that. It's God, my job is so interesting sometimes. I just did a deal for a real estate agent who we just closed this week, and he even said to me, he's like, "Man, I'm glad I'm going through this process. This is a little more difficult than I thought." And I'm like, "How?" And first of all, not only how is it more difficult, because I do not think, I think it should be more difficult. Like, you're asking to borrow like $500,000. Don't you think, like, and everyone just is like, I'm good for it, bro. It's like, don't you think that like the checks and balances that should be associated with lending you $500,000, like, don't you think we're gonna ask some questions?
Nah, you bugging.
You bugging, bro. And yeah, I think it's really easy to get money, especially on a home. And I don't want it to be harder, but I do want clients to take things more seriously. Like,
Okay.
I
Shout out.
there it is. Take the mortgage process more seriously. It's a big deal. We need things. You're asking for a lot.
Hmm.
What else you want to cover? We got 15 more minutes before we hit our hour.
Let's go through who's buying right now.
Who's buying right now? Who do I see buying right now?
Yep.
Who I see buying mainly is still our first-time home buyers. And then to your point, I am starting to see people that are in that like 4 to 5% range coming off the fence and finally going, okay, like I've waited long enough. I want a new house, you know, and it's mainly the people who just kind of like, they want what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I have mixed emotions about that because, you know, from like a financial strategic standpoint, when I talk to clients, they, you know, they kind of like, they're combative. Like, why should I do it right now? I'm going to wait for rates to come down. Why would I go from an interest rate of 4.5 to 6% or whatever it is? And so from a numbers standpoint, I get it, you know, but you only live once and people want what they want. And
Mm-hmm.
so you've got people who have accumulated equity. They've kind of waited long enough and they're like, you know what? If I continue to wait, I'm never going to really get the house that I want because some of the homes that people are in, they were their starter homes. So I'm seeing a lot of the starter home people, they're taking their equity. And we've talked about this, man. I actually was sitting yesterday with a client and it was like, I've been talking about this on the podcast a lot and it like finally happened in real life where she's like, we really have been thinking about buying a new home. And, you know, we just got in a position to where like we're thinking about refinancing, but we kind of want to buy a new home. And I'm like, why don't you sell your house? Take the equity that you have, pay off your debt, because that's what she wanted to refinance for, was doing like a, you know, because she's got an installment loan that she had paid off some credit cards and everything, and they're getting things kind of shifted around. And she's like, that's a great idea. You're right. Like, because I think everybody, not everybody, but I think there is sometimes that like quick thought process of I sell my house, I take the money that I made for my house, and I put it as a down payment. Like, you don't have to do that. And financially, it makes way more sense to pay off, you know, an installment loan that's at like 10% that you maybe consolidated credit cards and maybe only put down like 3 or 5% on your new purchase. Pay off all your debt, become debt free from, you know, like revolving debt. And I watched that happen in real time yesterday with that aha moment. And I know I'm onto something.
Yep.
And so,
God, imagine if we had a way to figure out, or at least on my side, who has a ton of debt that's not tied to tied to their mortgage.
I think I have access to that.
I don't. There's no way I do.
Yeah,
I'm
pretty sure I do.
Because imagine if you could target anyone who, let's just say, has over $40,000 of credit card debt,
yeah,
lives in their home for X amount of years, and then you just basically create a whole solution for them.
right. I mean, yes, the solution involves you like moving your stuff out of your house, but you know, you could look on the bright side. It's like you could get into something that's a little nicer than what you currently have. We get that free. Like those are, and you know what? Those clients are. I like working with them because they've already purchased before. They see what they're doing. They get it. And the one thing I also like about it is that I love this. This makes me sound kind of slimy, but I just, it's the truth. Like I love dealing with people who have equity because that money, they are just so much more like easy to deal with because it was like almost unearned income.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm dealing with clients when if they're pulling money out of savings or checking or something
It's
like
tighter.
that. Yeah, they're way more just like, oh man, oh, you mean title was $1,000, and you know they're just pinching
Like
pennies.
4,000 or 5,000.
Right. And they're just way more concerned because it's like earned income that they're pulling out of a checking account. Where it's like when it's equity, they're like, all right, that costs this, so I don't even have to bring a check. I'm like, no, give me all your credit card statements. I mean, we did this for a client just recently where he provided title with all of the credit card statements that he needed to pay off. And, you know, we just title doles out all of the funds directly to those credit card companies at closing. And he ended up having to bring money too. But I've definitely had situations where we come to closing from the sale of another property and we just wire the funds directly from the sale over to the other title company. And then they just cut checks for like 5 credit card accounts. the down payment, and the buyer doesn't even show up with money.
Mm-hmm.
They just show up, driver's license, sign, done. It's like now
And sometimes they're actually getting paid.
Yeah, that's true. I did have one client that they walked away with like $20K because they wanted to have a little rainy day fun. Nothing wrong with that. But
Guilty as charged. I did it.
yeah, okay. And it's like you walk away with a little bit of money and now you're completely debt free other than your mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have one loan, one payment, done.
Yep.
So I'm going to clip that one out because I feel like that is something that there are a lot of people right now. They're like, gosh, if I could do that, that would be absolutely amazing. And we can help you do that.
Absolutely can.
So those are the people that I'm seeing buying. You know what I'm not seeing a lot of, and you kind of made mention of this, and I'm wondering if they're just cash clients or whatever. I'm not getting a lot of downsizing on my end.
Just sent you one this morning.
Okay.
You wouldn't know that though yet.
Yeah. I'm not seeing as much
going
of that.
Going from a $3 million property to 550,000, 1,200 square feet.
Yeah, but do they need financing? Maybe. Right. But that's what I'm thinking.
For a good option.
Sure. Well, and that's one thing I would love to get like a financial advisor on here, but they're always so skittish to get on here because they're so regulated. But, we talk about people who are basically downsizing, cash buyers, stuff like that. Is it best practices to pay a home in full? I don't know, right?
No.
I mean, a lot of financial advisors would advise that you should at least carry some sort of mortgage balance and reinvest the money elsewhere.
And don't pay your mortgage off. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, and I can't get anybody with a license to say that, but there are a lot of people that are like, yeah, I'm just going to pay my home off. And I'm like, why? Well, why?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I want to add one more thing before we end it.
Yep.
There's a lot of buyers that are out there right now that are waiting for inventory to pop up at certain neighborhoods where there isn't inventory.
Okay.
I have a creative strategy, so it was more of a call to action to anyone who is looking in specific neighborhoods. I have a full custom, basically a letter that will mail to the sellers. We include your names on it. We include a picture of you and your family directly to those sellers of the homes that you would like to purchase in those areas. We select those homes, and I'll take care of paying for the mail. It's not like it's expensive, but I'll put everything together for you, and then based off the response back, we're also saving money in that standpoint. So what we would do is called intermediary. Let's say, for example, John Smith, let's just say Matt's selling his house. I'm representing John. I'm sending letters on behalf of John saying, hey, my client's super interested in purchasing your home. This is not an investment purchase. This is for him and his family. Here's a picture of their family. John and his wife, Susie, are extremely interested. Would you consider selling your property? We would also do this for X amount commission. In that standpoint, it's a reduced commission scenario because it's not, we're trying to motivate them.
Yep.
Basically what I do is I either provide my wife or a team member, do an intermediary deal where it's same brokerage, but not dual agency scenarios. I'm representing my client already. The seller's going to be represented by someone else from our team. It's a reduced commission scenario. They make more money. My buyer doesn't have to compete with multiple offers, and we get you in the home that you want.
What neighborhoods are you seeing stuff like this going down in?
Great Hills.
Great Hills? Why do I not know where that is?
That's where Rain Lily was.
Okay.
Go over the 360 bridge if you're headed north.
Yeah.
First left.
Got it.
Up in the kind of...
What is it? Because of schools or what?
Schools plus hill country views. You're going to see this in River Place as well.
Okay.
You're going to see this in areas that have the canopy trees / hill country views on the west side of Austin.
Got it.
Sometimes off of 29 in Georgetown or acre properties, Liberty Hill for me. There's like investors do this all the time. Like wholesalers, investors, they do this stuff all the time.
I've got one more and then we'll cut it.
Yeah.
Are you seeing more people that are interested in buying land?
Dude, a lot.
Why do you think that is?
Because Austin's finally getting to a point where we're like Liberty Hill's now where you're building for vacant land. Like there's a really good listing that right on Hamilton Pool. Jan Moreland has this listing right now. I was looking at it yesterday. She was great talking with, speak super highly of her, and she was giving me all the information. It has no deed restrictions. It's a piece of land, 16 acres. They're planning to like 4 to 6 acre lots. Land, there isn't as many opportunities for land right now.
Yeah. Well, financing on it's a pain in the ass too.
That too. That's why the hesitation.
Right.
Like for example, I have a lot listing, or was going to be a lot listing up in Hutto right now, but there's a mobile home on it that's already tied down. we're not going to take the mobile home off, even though it's a total shitter, because then they can purchase it with a 3% conventional.
Yeah, I'm doing one right now.
And now they don't have to put how much we put down for land right now.
30%.
So they can do 3% instead of 30%. Then have someone remove the mobile home, do whatever they want on the top of the land.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't tell the investor that.
Okay, sorry.
All right, man. Well, we always end it with kind of a call to action or anything along those lines. What are you looking for this week?
So if you are let's start with buyers. If you're a buyer, you're looking for a certain home in a certain area, and you're just like, WTF, why can't I find the home? If there's nothing popping up here, I've been on a search on Zillow or another realtor's website, whatever it might be, please reach out to me. I'm really successful with reaching out to sellers, finding my clients exactly what they're looking for with these letters. We personalize them. You review the draft. I take care of the mailing. And then as soon as the inquiries come through, we set you a private tour, take a peek at the home, and you don't have to deal with multiple offers in those select neighborhoods that don't have inventory. Because when those do go on the market, I'm sure in every single buyer that's been looking for a while is put into a multiple offer scenario because there's so many people waiting.
Yeah.
And they're not proactively doing something to find those sellers who are considering. And I have other tools and technology to tell me who's going to actually be potentially selling based off, I call it a sell score, and who's going to be considering selling based off the financial profile, based off of what time they're living there, based off multiple different factors. And we can, quote unquote, target those sellers of homes that you'd be interested in and go from that direction. Now I'll flip over to sellers. If you are looking to sell your home, you're looking to either downsize or upside. What's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for there?
I would just call them move-up buyers.
Okay, move-up buyers.
Upgrade.
Yeah, there we go. Upgrade buyer, or you're looking at downsize. There isn't a ton of inventory, like I just said, for other buyers. But if you're looking to sell your home, there is not inventory right now. We still have low inventory, even though we see higher days on market. It's due to pricing. It's due to lack of marketing. It's due to outreach from agents, letting people know about these listings. Because I'm going to shout out to all the different agents that are out there. You are not making the phone calls you should be and being as proactive as you should be. So if you were looking to sell, please reach out to me. I don't just list your home, set some marketing up, and let it do its thing. I'm actually proactively calling agents, setting broker opens, doing mega open houses, doing whatever it is to potentially sell your home. And I'm a salesman. Like, I'm going to sell your house.
Right. Yeah, this week for me, I want to go after sellers. I want to go after sellers in regards to I'm hoping to find the person that it resonates with, where they're like, I own a home, I have equity, and I'm carrying some debt.
Let's partner up on it.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have those conversations. One of my favorite parts of my job is literally, I originated in this business as a refinance rep, which was all about just like moving money around and creating budgets for people and basically just figuring out ways to save them money by not paying on interest.
Mm-hmm.
And so finding somebody who's in debt that wants to sell, because really, again, the bulk of my business is purchase now, but the idea of combining the two of those and showing somebody, hey, here's what you're paying with your mortgage and your credit cards and your car loans and everything. Here's where you could be if we buy this home, take this. Here's what your payments are in total now. Here's what your payment would be. That sort of proposal is like fun for me. So if you own a home and you've got debt and you're trying to figure out ways to, kind of make it less expensive and also would consider moving, that's who I want to talk to.
Cool. I'm right there with it. Let's partner, do together.
Let's do it. All right, brother.
Cool.
Appreciate you. We'll get on next week.
Thank you.